Hi, I'm Chad with Move Forward Guitar. This lesson is from our series Music Theory for Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the chords and the modes of the harmonic minor scale. First off, if you like the diagrams for everything in this series, including the diagrams for this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, Music Theory for Guitar. And this e-guide will be something that you can study and use as a reference for years to come. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to just go download it. This is part 6.7 from our series, Music Theory for Guitar. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So now that you know how to build the harmonic minor scale, we're going to look at the chords and the modes from it. And again, this is going to be more of an overview. I'm going to have other lessons that dive really deep into all this. But this will be a good overview and a good foundation for you. So if you don't know this stuff, this is a good place to start. And again, this scale is used in classical a lot and other types of music, neoclassical, heavy metal, and lots of other music. But I really base most of what I do on jazz theory. So I'm really going to approach this more from a jazz theory understanding. And the harmonic minor scale doesn't have as many useful modes as the melodic minor scale. And when I talk about useful, I'm not talking about that they're not useful at all. I'm just talking about what's most common. I'm talking about the modes that have been used the most out of this and that our ears are more used to hearing because they've been used. But it's up to you to try out the modes, see if you like the other sounds, see if you can come up with something unique. And lots of players have done that over the years. They've just taken something that wasn't used and started using it and made it an acceptable sound. So I'm not saying don't use them. Definitely try them out, see if you like them. I'm just talking about what's most common. And there's really two common modes in this scale, which I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to cover all the modes and explain the intervals and the chords that come out of them. So the first mode is just called harmonic minor, just like the melodic minor, the first mode's called melodic minor. Some people do name this differently, but by far the most common thing you're going to see is just for it to be called harmonic minor. So the intervals are the same as the scale of the harmonic minor since you're starting on the root note, which is root 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, 7. And again, like we talked about in the last lesson, that gives you a minor triad or a minor major 7 chord. And in G, that would be G minor or G minor major 7. And like I mentioned, you can use this to solo over minor chords, minor triads, or over minor major 7 chords, obviously. But it's also really common to use this to solo over just regular 7th chords. So you're superimposing this over a minor 7 chord instead of a minor major 7 chord. And it just creates a really unique sound to do that. So the second mode is called Lydian Sharp 6. And again, all these names are relating back to the major scale in its mode. So you would take a Lydian mode, sharp the 6, that's how you would get this mode, the Lydian Sharp 6. So hopefully you know that the Lydian mode is root, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. So we would just sharp that 6, that would give us this mode, the Lydian Sharp 6 of root, flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 6, flat 7. And this is a really uncommon mode. It creates a really strange chord. Even though if you were to build chords out of it, you'd just get a diminished triad and a minor 7 flat 5. The natural 6 makes it really strange because you would have a G minor 7 flat 5 and a natural 6. It's a really strange sound. So it's up to you to try it out, see if you like it at all. But like I said, it's not a common mode. The next mode, the third mode, is Ionian Sharp 5. So I'm sure you can figure out that if you took the Ionian mode, sharp the 5th, you would get this mode. That gives you root 2, 3, 4, sharp 5, 6, 7. And this isn't a very common mode, but a little more common than the last mode. You could use this to superimpose over a major 7 chord, and it would give a unique sound if you did that. That's done in more modern music. And because of that natural 4, it gives it a really unique sound, this natural 4 to the sharp 5th. So try it out, see if you like it. The triad from it is a major triad, and the 7th chord would be a major 7 sharp 5, which you've seen before from the melodic minor modes. So in G, that would be a G major, or the 7th chord would be a G major 7 sharp 5. The fourth mode is the Dorian Sharp 4. So take a Dorian mode, sharp the 4, that would give you this mode. That would be root 2, flat 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, flat 7. And this is again another really uncommon mode to use, but you can try it out. And this distance from the flat 3 to the sharp 4 is a really strange interval distance and sound, but you can try it out, see if you like it. The triad from it is just a regular minor chord, and the 7th chord is a minor 7, so in G that'd be G minor or G minor 7. But again, this is a very uncommon sound to hear to play these over those chords, but try it out, see what it sounds like to you. The 5th mode is a very common mode. So the 1st mode and this mode are by far the most common modes of the harmonic minor scale, and this 5th mode is used all the time. And it's called Phrygian Dominant, or it can be called Phrygian Sharp 3, some people call it Phrygian Major, or it could be Mixolydian Flat 2, Flat 6. Those are all common names for it. So I'm sure if you think about it, if you were to take the Phrygian Sharp the 3, you would get this scale. Or if you took Mixolydian and flatted the 2 or flatted the 6 and flatted the 6, you would get this scale as well. So it's like a Phrygian scale, except that it has a major third instead of a minor third. And it creates a really unique sound. And if you built the triad, you would get a major triad. If you built the 7th chord, you'd get a dominant 7. So in G, that'd be G major or G7. And this is used all the time to solo over 7th chords. And it creates an altered sound like the altered scale does from the melodic minor scale, where you have a dominant 7 and then you have altered tones that you'd be adding on to it, except this doesn't have as many altered tones as the altered scale. The altered scale has all of them. This mode, the Phrygian Dominant, has a flat 2, which is the same as a flat 9, and a flat 6, which is the same as a sharp 5. So those are the two altered tones that you get from this scale. So you could have a G7 flat 9, a G7 sharp 5, or a G7 sharp 5 flat 9, and you would create that sound soloing over a dominant chord. And again, that's really useful when you're going over a dominant chord, especially in jazz, going from a 5 chord to a 1 chord. It creates more tension. And this is a different sound than the altered scale, so it just creates another sound. But definitely learn this mode. If you learn any of the harmonic minor scale, learn this mode. It's a really useful mode. The next mode is the Lydian Sharp 2, which is the 6th mode of the harmonic minor scale. And it's not very common, but it is used sometimes. It's used in more modern jazz in certain situations, can create a unique sound. And I'm sure you can figure it out that you take a Lydian scale, sharp the 2, you'd end up with this scale, which will give you root, sharp 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7. And the thing that's strange about this scale is the sharp 2, which in certain cases can be a sharp 9, but it also can be a flat 3. So again, you have this flat 3 and the major 3, which creates either minor or major sound. So that can be a really difficult thing to make sound right. But the flat 3 is also the blues note, if you remember from the major blues scale. So you can take this and play it over a major 7 chord and create a really bluesy sound over a major 7 chord. That's one way it can be used. And the chords you get from it, the triad, are major triad. The 7th chord is major 7. So in G, that'd be a G major or a G major 7. The last mode, the 7th mode, is called Superlocrian Diminished sometimes, or it can be called Mixolydian Sharp 1. I've heard other names. It's not a common mode. You're not going to even hear it called anything very often because you're not going to run across this mode very often. And the Mixolydian Sharp 1 explains what's going on, but it's a really confusing way to think about it, because really what you do is take the Mixolydian and sharp the 1, and you'd end up with these interval distances, but they'd be called different names from Mixolydian, so I don't like that name at all. So what you can think about it as is the Superlocrian mode, which was root, flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. That's the natural state of the Superlocrian mode, which is the altered scale, before we changed the interval names to match it better for the use of using it for altered chords. That's its natural spelling. So if you took that and then flatted the 7 again, so made it a diminished 7th instead of a flat 7, you'd end up with this mode, which would be root, flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, double flat 7. Very strange scale, very uncommon. You could use it over a diminished 7th chord and try it out and see if you like it, but like I said, it's a very uncommon mode. And the triad you would get would be diminished triad, and the 7th chord would be diminished 7th. But again, you have this flat 4, which is the same as a natural 3 or a major 3. So that's where it's creating this really weird sound where you have a flat 3 and a major 3. So those are the chords and the modes of the harmonic minor scale. Like I said, there's two that are really common that you'll get a lot of use out of if you use a harmonic minor scale at all. So definitely focus on those two first. But like I said, try the others out, see if you like them. You may come up with something unique, and don't be hindered just because they're not common. Go ahead and move on to the next lesson. We're going to do a comparison of all the minor scales that we've talked about so far, because a lot of people get confused about the differences between minor scales, so I want to dedicate a lesson to it. And be sure to download the e-guide. All the diagrams are in there, and be sure to subscribe because we add at least one new lesson every day.